Well, spring has sprung and it's officially wedding dress season once again. So today I want to talk a little bit about wedding dresses. If you're not married, if you don't have a wedding dress in your life, or you just couldn't care less about the wedding industrial complex, trust me, I hear you. But please don't leave just yet. This episode is most likely for you too. Just think about a wedding gown as a symbol for all sorts of stuff that people really care about. And with that in mind, please indulge me as I focus on the ubiquitous bridal gown for a sec. You know, that fancy, white, fluffy, expensive frock that's usually riddled with anxiety and stress and other emotions. Oh yes, loving and cherished memories too. Yikes, that's a lot to assume, but it's often all true, right? Anyhow, if you're gownless, just think of something important to you that, in your opinion, could use a little extra TLC, and fill in the blanks as we go. And if you can't think of anything that fits that bill, way to go. I'm impressed. But for the rest of us, let's begin. Hi, my name is Lindsay Smith with Exhibitsmith. I'm rethinking the way we save our stuff. I help people interpret, preserve, and better understand the objects that make up our world. If you have a lot of stuff, it might feel overwhelming. But believe it or not, I truly believe that artifact and heirloom preservation can be both easy and fun. In fact, I've developed a series of introductory level workshops on this topic and others just to prove my point. Learn more about them at exhibitsmith.com. Okay, so when I ask people about the status of their wedding dress, like, what's it up to now? I'm usually met with the same response, some version of embarrassed guilt. So here are some responses I've received over the years. Let's say person one. They'll be looking wistfully over the horizon, avoiding eye contact, and say something like, oh yeah, I need to do that. Well, person two might look at me confused and say, you mean that white box thing? Person three might even say, I never got mine cleaned and wine spilled all over it. And person four would say something like, well, we've been married for 30 years and it's still just hanging in my closet. And they'll look at me embarrassed. Yeeks. Well, let's dissect all of that. First of all, what's with the guilt? No more wedding dress preservation guilt. Please stop it right now. I simply won't allow it. So first, I want to spell out a few things that will make you feel better about yourself. Then I'm going to tell you what to do about it. Number one, your wedding dress is your wedding dress. What you do or don't do with it is your business. Don't feel bad because your dress is still hanging in the closet. All is not lost. And personally, I love the wine stains and worn trains on a dress. Who wants their dress to be pristine after its big day anyway? It adds to the story. It adds to the history, the provenance, right? Number two, unless your dress is vintage, antique, very fragile, very heavy, or it's been kept in poor environmental conditions, it's probably still in decent shape. Phew! That means there's plenty of time to act if you wish to preserve it. Number three, you don't need to become the curator of your very own historic clothing museum just to keep your dress safe. If you don't want to give it the white glove treatment, you don't have to. 4, you can keep your dress safe and not have to seal it away in a box forever. Your dress should be accessible so it can be enjoyed, at least in my opinion. Your dress is not a time capsule. And 5, preserving your wedding dress does not have to break the bank, unless you want it to. Feeling better yet? But what if you don't even want to do any of this? Well, let's go back to point number 1. Your wedding dress is your wedding dress. What you do or don't do with it is your business. To figure out what your next steps might be, I want to do a short assessment of your gown or whatever non-wedding item you are playing along with in this episode and see what you find out. It's time to ask the tough questions and potentially be surprised by the answers that you give yourself. We all know why you got the wedding dress, but why do you still have it? Think about why you still care about your gown or other item. Why do you want to keep it? Well, maybe the dress reminds you of your wedding day. Okay, that's an easy one. But what else? Perhaps you want to save the dress for your family. I have a daughter, and I'd like her to have the option to use some elements of the dress in the future if she wants to, and if she gets married. Okay, so she's still in elementary school, so there are a couple of giant ifs there. Nevertheless, I'd like to make sure that my dress survives until that time. She also likes to try it on now, so I like to keep it accessible and not sealed away in a box. Because holding out for something that may or may not happen decades from now is a big ask when it comes to storing something in your home, often with limited space and resources. Okay, another reason why you might still care about the gown is because it was simply a major financial investment. Fair enough. 14 years ago, my wedding dress was, quote, only $500, which even at the time for a wedding dress was but pennies spent. But that's still quite an investment. And I know a lot of people have spent a lot more. I went to the big box wedding dress store and bought something off the rack. That does not seem to be the norm for a lot of people. And for a lot of people, it is a major financial investment. Perhaps you still care about it so much because it is part of your personal story / your legacy, which goes along with it reminding you of your wedding day. And come on, you're preaching to the choir here, right? You know I'm all about heirlooms and healthy traditions and all of that whatnot. So think about the future. Are your answers to the questions strong enough to justify what you can or should do to your dress for decades to come? And what exactly are your options? Well, here's a short list of options you have when deciding what to do with your wedding dress. A lot of these can also be applied to the other item that, again, you may be playing along with. So let's see. You can, 1, show it off. Okay, believe it or not, some brides display their dress in extra large shadow boxes. I had never heard of this until I really started focusing in on wedding dress preservation and options and all of that. And if you look it up online, I found a whole bunch of very interesting graphics and opportunities to do that on Pinterest. You put your dress in a gigantic shadow box and you put it at the end of your gigantic walk-in closet. Neither of those things are things I'm interested in, nor have room for. But even if you don't, I recommend looking it up online because it's a pretty amazing trend that's going on out there. It really turns your dress into a work of art. You can also transform parts of your dress into things like teddy bears or jewelry or anything you can think of, right? You can always repurpose that dress so you can continue experiencing it, using it, remembering it in a way that may be more suited to your life now. There are 3 ways, in my experience, that you can preserve your gown. The 3 popular ways, I should say. The most popular is most likely getting the box treatment from the dry cleaner. This option includes getting that small white, or I believe sometimes gold, box with a clear viewing window. And the cleaners has the whole preservation method, and the dress comes back to you sealed in a box. And the brides are usually told never to open the box and keep it sealed forever, which personally, what's the fun in that? Again, I don't think things that I'm keeping in my house should necessarily be time capsules. But if you go this route, which is a very popular route, just make sure that the process that the cleaners is using is heirloom safe. The second option is to get a DIY box kit from a preservation company. Gaylord Archival is a good option. Now, these dress boxes are often a lot larger than the small white box you get at the cleaners. And honestly, the box should be that big because your dress is larger than that box. So if you go this route, it's a DIY process, but it's a simple process, but it is going to take up a lot of space in your home. So you do it right, you have to dedicate the space to it. And 3, if you are familiar with Exhibitsmith and my business Hangerbee, I do offer a hanging wedding dress preservation kit. This was what I came up with after realizing that I didn't care for any of the other options that were on the market, and using a Hangerbee padded hanger and proper preservation supplies, garment bags, and whatnot, I am able to create a preservation safe way to hang my dress in my closet using minimal space, keep it accessible, and store the dress like museum collections staff do. If you want any information on that, please go to hangerbee.com, or it links from exhibitsmith.com. But anyway, that's not a straight up ad for this episode. I just wanted to mention that in passing. Now, if you're not interested in preserving it, let's say you don't want your dress anymore. Oh my gosh, did the person who owns the textile supply company actually suggest that maybe you could get rid of your dress? Well, you can always share the love. You don't need to keep everything forever, right? That's why we asked the questions of, what are your future goals? Why do you still care about the dress? And should it still be in your home? Well, if you want it out of your home, you can always give it away to a thrift shop or a specialty charity that works with formal wear. Hey, your dress may be worn by a future bride. It may be worn as a Halloween costume. It may even star in a play. Possibilities are endless when you let your dress have a new life without you. And of course, you can always sell your dress, depending on its condition and style and how well versed you are in the method of selling that you want to do, whether it's through social media or through some other online platform or some other consignment way. You may be surprised by how much or how little your dress may be worth, but there are often buyers out there for used wedding dresses. You can also donate your dress to Angel Gowns. I learned about this organization a number of years ago, again, when I started looking into wedding dress preservation and storage options. The Angel Gowns program, and you can find it just by searching it online, transforms wedding dresses into burial gowns for those who have experienced infant loss. Isn't that just beautiful? So as I said, if you want to learn more about that organization, please just search for Angel Gowns online. Now, a method of getting rid of stuff that is near and dear to both my heart and my wheelhouse is donating your dress or item to a museum. Now, some people wish to donate their or their relatives' wedding dress to a museum. This can help to preserve someone's legacy and tell a unique story about that individual. But to be honest, museums often have plenty of dresses already. I'm actually currently developing a lot of content behind the scenes with essentially the working title of, "So you want to donate to a museum?" That will help people understand the who, what, where, when, why, how, and how not to go about donating or asking a museum if that you can donate your items to their organization. But for now, I'm just going to tell you that this option is not a fail-safe solution for your purging dreams. As I said, many museums are already overflowing with wedding dresses. A lot of museums are already overflowing with stuff. So they have become very picky about what they are able to include into the organization. So let's say you have an entire house worth of things, or you have great Aunt Esther's wedding dress that no one really has a connection with, and you say, well, I'll give it to the museum. Easy peasy. Well, don't be offended or shocked if that proves to be a harder process than you had anticipated. Finally, and again, I may be tarred and feathered for suggesting this, but you can toss it. Oh my gosh, did I really suggest you just throw away your wedding dress? Well, honestly, if you don't want it and it's in poor condition, that might just be the best option. Or perhaps it just has such bad karma surrounding it, my condolences, that you just don't even want anyone else to deal with it ever in your life. But that's a personal matter that I don't know anything about. So I'll let you make those on your own decisions. But if it's in poor condition or you just can't imagine someone else ever doing anything with it, it's your dress. It's your prerogative. Even museums have to toss artifacts every so often if they're in unsalvageable condition. Oof, right? It's something museums don't ever want to do, but that's the world we live in. If something is completely unsalvageable, we don't keep it forever. Okay, so those are a lot of very different ideas of what you can do with your wedding dress, and many of those can apply to other important items in your life as well. So now I want to hear from you. Have you preserved your dress? Have you not and feel embarrassed and or guilty about it? Did that part of this episode really resonate with you? Sorry. Did you use a product that I mentioned, like the white box treatment or a DIY kit? Or have you sold your gown? Or how did that work? Perhaps you're one of those lucky folks who has a dress that has been worn for generation over generation, and now it's become more of a wedding dress. Now it is a true family, multi-generational heirloom. I would love to hear about that story. Is your dress just hanging out in the closet in a deteriorating plastic bag and a wire hanger, waiting for you to make the next move? Hashtag no judgment. Or maybe you did something else. Maybe you did something that I need to add to my list. Maybe you don't have your dress anymore for whatever reason. Anyway, I would love to hear about it. I mean, with very few exceptions, there are really no right or wrong answers here. It's all up to you. So that said, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I invite you to subscribe to my podcast. And once again, you can see everything Exhibitsmith is up to at exhibitsmith.com, including grabbing yourself some free downloadable resources. Did you know that I even have a free infographic that covers much of what I just said? It's all about wedding dress options, all in one little flyer just for you. Be sure to grab yours. I also offer a brand new workshop on this very topic, which is cool. It's perfect for your community organization, your business, whomever, in person or online. We go over all of these preservation methods and options for your wedding dress in a nice 1-hour package. So please check that out too. And thanks for listening. I'm already looking forward to the next episode.